Now, I love beating horses to death. Now, not actually, but sort of figuratively or metaphorically. I like to talk about the same topics over and over and over again, but tackle it from different perspectives. So today we're going to once again talk about reading difficult books, because that's what this schmuck is about. That's what the shtick is about with this channel. We tend to sit around and talk about how to read better books and how to become stronger readers and all that yada yada shit. What I've realized, as I had a lot of free time recently, because I just completely finished L'Académie. This is the first 3 chapters of L'Académie, in which this novel is just completely finished. I've done all the edits, I've done all the personal edits, I've reviewed plot points, made some major changes to the plot, and then rewritten several chapters. And right now, I just don't want to look at the book again, because there's only so much editing you can do to a book. So I declared that book to be finished, and right now I'm just sending the manuscript off to people, to publishers and to friends, to people, and to see if they like it. And that's where I'm at right now. So I've got a lot of free time recently to think about, or to browse around YouTube, to browse around online blogs about learning about how to become better at reading, how to become more knowledgeable in literature and philosophy. And I've sensed this general obsession with systems, with reading system, with note card systems, with commonplace book systems. Well, first off the bat, none of these systems, some of them might resonate with you, but I'm here to make a point that you are completely unique in your own habits. And just like art, like recently I've been having this huge realization, is that artistic theory has to be constructed retrospectively, if that makes sense. It's impossible just to sit down and create a piece of art whilst having, buzzing around in your head a bunch of artistic theory. Checks and bounds are fine, but if you create a piece of art that just conforms to certain strict boundaries without letting it be a sort of organic expression, then you're doing art not wrong, but you're doing sort of sloppy art. You're sort of following a formula to do art and not really expressing the essence of art itself, which is capturing aspects of life that you find beautiful. If you have all these formulae buzzing around in your head, then, well, you're not really creating good art. Same with systems. If you like a particular reading system, realize that you're a completely unique individual. You have your own ways of interpreting texts. You have your own sort of weird habits when you read books. You have your own sort of inclinations towards certain texts and not other texts. So don't feel guilty if you don't follow certain systems to the letter. And what I'm about to share in this video is just, something to keep in mind, but you don't have to follow it, and don't feel guilty if you don't. Go figure out your own note card system. Go figure out your own, reading habits. So today we're going to once again beat a horse to death. Not literally, but metaphorically. We're going to talk about reading difficult books again and how not to quit. I mean, I've noticed this tendency within a lot of people. They think that, well, if I were to read a difficult book, that's like me spending 3 hours or 4 hours a day reading that damn thing and not read anything else. If that makes any sense at all. And if you really want to read Infinite Jest, don't read anything else. Like, cut yourself completely from many other books. Stop reading stupid shit and just fill your head up with Infinite Jest. Well, that's one way to look at it. And if you're a very sort of dedicated person, well, you can do that. But I don't know about you, but I love literary diversity. I love to explore different forms of literature. I love to sort of surprise myself with certain things. I don't like to read one book and stick to one book for 3 months. Let's say if a book is as tough as Infinite Jest. I've been reading this thing for about 1 month and a half. I'm halfway through Infinite Jest. But sometimes it just drives me absolutely nuts. And as it should be a book that actually, I think David Foster Wallace is purposefully trying to drive people nuts with Infinite Jest. But certain areas or certain parts of the book, it's just, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. But certain books or certain parts of the books, remember there was like a computer, or there was like a D&D sort of situational game or RPG game where David Foster Wallace described every nook and cranny of the game, where I just said to myself, I don't give a shit about this game. Just move on, talk about something more interesting. where he spent about 30 pages talking about this D&D sort of RPG game. I forgot the name of the game, but it's sort of a so boil it to the essence. David Foster Wallace can be spending a lot of time talking about random bullshit. That's it. Ranging from tennis to wheelchair assassins to, people that can only communicate through farting Morse code through their mouth. Any sort of stuff. Some parts of it's good, but other parts are boring. Like many other literary fiction, some parts are good, other parts are boring. Especially if these works are long pieces of work. War and Peace, Moby Dick. Some parts are really good and enlightening, but to get to those parts, you have to slog through some of the bullshit, so to speak, some of the tough stuff that you don't necessarily want to read. How do we combat this boredom? Because this is why most people quit. They quit before they see the light of the day. They quit before they hit that sort of rhythm. When they know that this book is amazing, when they know that they can fully surrender to the book. How do we prevent that? The way that I prevent boredom from reading serious works or really hard works is actually pretty simple. I have a system where I read 2 books at once. That's the entire schmuck. That's the entire thing. I read 2 books at once. One book, I like to call it a stretch book, and the other one, a keep book. So stretch book and keep book, even the name itself can sort of suggest what I'm doing here. Stretch book stretches my reading abilities. So it has to be a tough book. Ulysses, War and Peace, Moby Dick, Infinite Jest, Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey, Dante's Inferno. These books I categorize as stretch books because they surely are tough. They require a lot of time, a lot of focus, and a lot of study. And sometimes you have to read the same damn chapter 2 times to understand what the hell the author's talking about. These are stretch books that I consider to be stretching my ability of reading. And there are keep books. Keep books are, something like Murakami's Norwegian Woods. This is actually becoming, I really love this one. This is one of my pet books, as for now. And this is from just really beautifully written and a really, really dynamic story with many of Murakami's work. So I consider maybe a Murakami, maybe a Jonathan Franzen, or maybe something by Donna Tartt, or something, some contemporary fiction. All that kind of stuff count as keep books. So keep books filling the gap between the gaps where you read your serious stretch books. So stretch books, here's the funny thing about stretch books. As much as you want to get into it, you can't actually spend too much time reading stretch books. These books are meant to be tough to read. These books are meant to sort of stretch your ability. And if you think to yourself, if you're an athlete and you want to stretch yourself 3 hours of the day, you're going to likely burn yourself out. So I reserve about an hour for my stretch book every single day, but I'm not just going to read an hour per day. That's kind of boring. So for the rest of the 2 hours, I typically devote 3 hours to reading per day. For the rest of the 2 hours, I spend on a keep book, just as a bit of a leisure reading, bit of a easy read, and to sort of let myself go. To enjoy a piece of literature, which I know within me, having the security that I've already spent an hour tackling a really tough book, having the security or having that sort of insurance that I've stretched my mental ability to its maximum, and then putting that book away, having acknowledged to myself, I've done my best. I've spent an hour on the book. I know what to do. I've read Infinite Jest. I'm steadily getting through the huge stretch book. It alleviates a lot of the pressure, and it really builds a sense of patience where some of the stretch books can be very long and very dense. For example, Infinite Jest. But having that security of knowing that, I've done the best I could. I've read maybe 12 pages today. Maybe I'll read 20 pages tomorrow. And having that sort of stretched security in mind just frees me up to read my keep books. Keep books are fun fictions. It keeps my enthusiasm for fiction. It keeps my desire to read. It wouldn't make me hate fiction forever. And frankly, it just alleviates a lot of boredom, because reading some longer works could be boring. And if you encounter one of these bullshit chapters, or one of these really boring chapters, you're not going to feel like just quitting the book and just go read some other book out there. You're going to know that, well, I'm still going to stick to the book, but I have this keep fiction to sort of restore my fun, restore my faith in reading, and sort of rejuvenate a bit through reading some easier stuff. And also just appreciating two ends of the world. Like, I have nothing against commercial fiction. Some of my favorite books are in fact commercial fictions. Donna Tartt. Because if you work at a bookstore, you tend to know a lot of books. You tend to get massive inputs. Some of the commercial fictions are actually doing really good work, and I'm really enjoying some of the titles. The Binder came to mind, which I was going to buy today, but I didn't because I want to finish Murakami. And it really switching in between the two worlds, between literary and the sort of commercial fiction, really gives you a fine balance, or keeps your interest, or it really rejuvenates you to set you up for more effective reading. I think that's how I do it. I have a keep book and I have a stretch book. Stretch book is designed for me to tackle for about an hour and a half per day, whereas keep books are meant to be read anywhere, at any time, without much mental strain. That's how I do my reading. If you like it, take it. If you don't like it, leave it. Well, if you like this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos. What more should I say? And just in case you're wondering, I will be publishing more articles on thequirkyinquiry.com, so keep an eye out for that. But for now, Robin here from The Quirky Inquiry, and I shall be signing off right now.